of New Agers at the studio, so I knew I figured they didn't like me because of my Christianity. But I knew Brent never held it against me. But I knew I had enemies at Paramount. I smelled something going on there. I could tell by some of the episodes that aired on the show. They were playing mental games with me. But I was very generous with Star Trek, though. What I did was, right after I watched any Star Trek episode, like one that just aired, I made sure to catch up with the new releases immediately. The next day, I would immediately make a comment about it. I would critique it and say where it could improve. I said, well, since I'm a writer, I'll help you out with your show because I want your show to be the best it can be. Because you act in it, Brent, and I wanted to help the writers there. So I said, you don't have to share this with the writers, but I'm going to critique the episodes and let your producers know what I think the show's doing right, what I think they're doing wrong, and how they can improve. And what was really strange is it seemed like the show was acting on my critiques. So I spent time critiquing their episodes in the letters that I wrote to Brent, pointing out what I thought were writing weaknesses and how they could improve and how they could make the show more interesting. And I noticed that it appeared they were acting on some of my comments because I could tell from watching the show. So I kind of had fun with that. I got to critique their show. So I thought it was strange. I thought, isn't this strange? They respect my writing enough to take heed to my critiques about their episodes, but yet they reject my teleplay. I thought, it's like I felt there was somebody petty working there that they didn't want to help me advance my writing career at all, and yet they were willing to take my free critiques and act on them to improve the writing at Star Trek. My personal opinion about the writers at Star Trek was that they weren't very good. I didn't say this to Brent, but when I watched the episodes, I told Brent it seems the most serious problem that your writers have is in the area of characterization. So they seem weak in that area. And I didn't tell this to Brent because I didn't want to insult him because he was working on that show. But I did not have a very high opinion about the Star Trek writers. I thought I was a better writer than they were. Apparently they sensed my attitude and they were a little resentful of that. And Brannon Braga in particular seemed to have some problem with me. I remember him. I thought, that writer's got a problem with me. I used to watch some episodes that he penned, and I could tell he was poking digs at me. So I figured maybe he's the reason Brent gave me 3 weeks of silence in September. I could tell there were some people at Paramount that didn't like me. And I figured they were trying to break up my relationship with Brent. I figured that maybe they were behind that blonde that Brent was going with. I think they're trying to break us up. That was my impression. But I said, I wouldn't dare break Brent's heart by allowing these people to win. That was my attitude. I was fiercely loyal to him. I was concerned with bringing him happiness in any way that I could to make it up to him that I couldn't give him my body. And he was still being very attentive. But I do remember that he went on the Joan Rivers show, and I would always tape it if he ever made a television guest appearance, and I taped it, and he seemed real happy. This was around November. He went on the Joan Rivers show. I ended up losing that tape because my husband discovered it and he destroyed it. He destroyed the videotape. That was a couple years later. But Brent was on the Joan Rivers show, and I remember very distinctly he was joking with Joan Rivers at the end of the episode. And somehow the topic, he was very witty. And I thought that was great because I have a sense of humor, Annie. But anyways, I'm getting off the subject. At the end of the show, they somehow got onto the subject of sex. Now, I happen to know what Brent was like with sex because he had... But Brent cracked a joke, and I think Joan Rivers asked him something about how he felt about sex, and then Brent answered, "Oh, you mean on the episode?" And something like this. It was like a joke. It was funny. And she laughed, and I was very pleased to see... Brent somehow said that he enjoyed sex, but he didn't... I remember whenever he made any public appearances, he didn't want to talk about his private life. And I thought that showed that the man had some class. I knew I was important to him. I figured, well, maybe I had something to do with it. he never wanted to talk about his private life. And if anybody ever asked him about his private life, in order to evade the subject, he'd usually crack some joke and go on to another topic. But he looked really happy in that episode, and I figured that I had something to do with it. So I was pleased to see that it looked like everything was okay. He never told me why he gave me 3 weeks of silence in September. I never got an explanation for it. Forgive me for talking so fast. I'm trying to say You'll have to forgive me. I've been speaking fast on this tape, and I haven't been pronouncing my words clearly. I sense that they're attacking my brain right now and trying to make me feel pressured when I speak, and I'm slurring over some of the words when I speak. So I'm going to try to concentrate on making myself understandable. So if I sound like I'm over-enunciating, I'm trying to overcome a handicap in my mind, because that area is being attacked. I have developed multitasking skills over the past several years to survive against Jesuitic attacks. And this has become a survival skill, and some of this survival skill is evidenced by the way I'm presenting this victim impact statement on this tape. I tend to jump from one topic to the next because that sort of reflects the way my life has been, very chaotic and crazy. When the Jesuits attack me, it's like a blitzkrieg. And I have learned that to survive, I have to be able to do the work of 20 people in one day.